Hi guys, so here is the rest of your toolmark PowerPoint. So this is the slide we left off on. We were talking about how um, to create a toolmark either in the lab or how it's created in at the crime scene in the field. So here are some problems with toolmarks. The difficulty in a lab when recreating a toolmark is that it's very hard to get the same pressure that was used by the suspect or the criminal. The surface may not always be the same. You may have the same type of wood and the same, 2x4 or whatever it was, but you'll never know the exact aging or weathering that has occurred to that window frame or door frame. So you may not always get the surface the same. You may not always get the length or the angle the same that the suspect used. We are able to use something called a photomicrograph, which is a picture that takes the microscopic pictures of the striations. It's a typical tool used. So this is what a photomicrograph would look like on a comparison microscope. And by looking at these two, we can actually say that they are most likely a match because you see this big striation here. It's continuous. You also have this big dark black one here that's pretty continuous as well as one down here. When you're collecting tool marks, if it is possible, you want to take the entire object with you. So if you're looking at a personal safe that was broken into or anything like that, maybe you found the tool itself. You want to take the entire object or part of the object that is containing the tool mark. Most crime labs are smaller than my classroom. So you can't take an entire door frame with you, but you may be able to take a small section with you or with you when you're done. But a lot of times it's impractical to take the whole object or even a piece of the object. If it's a window or an exterior door frame, you're not going to be able to take those. So we photograph the area that's marked to scale. And then you make a cast. So it's a casting. Usually it's a clay or a cement or liquid silicone that fits into the tiny nicks and grooves, dries pretty quickly. And then you can lift that cast and have it for examination in the lab. You never want to put a tool into a tool mark. So if you find a tool mark on a door, you never want to be like, ooh, was this the one that made the tool mark? Because you run the risk of altering that tool mark itself, which raises serious questions about the integrity of the evidence as a whole. Tools and tool marks should always be collected and packaged in separate containers as well. This is just helping you take extra precautions to avoid the cross-contamination of any physical evidence like paint chips or wood chips or anything like that that are on the tool. Also preventing the tool mark from being damaged by the tool. Failure to protect the tool or tool mark from damage could result in the destruction of its individualizing characteristics and make it unadmissible in court. When you're collecting for evaluation, tools and their impressions may contain trace evidence, chips of paint, fingerprints, and even blood. So the transfer of evidence may draw a possible connection between the two surfaces. If the two surfaces express the same type of paint, the same color, the same chemical composition, you can likely tie those two things together, which helps you tell your story. Blood and fingerprints obviously are identifiable to either the suspect or the victim. The presence of trace evidence greatly enhances the evidential value of a tool and its tool mark in court. Tools and tool marks of themselves that are specifically used to break into objects are relatively invaluable in court. It's like a cotton t-shirt. Everyone has one. But if you are able to pull a fingerprint or that paint or blood or anything like that off of the tool or the tool mark itself, that makes it much more of value when it comes to a court hearing. Trace evidence does require special care and handling and must be packaged accordingly. So blood will be packaged in plastic, fingerprints lifted and put on cards, and paint would probably be most likely be stored in plastic as well, so it can have chemical composition without running the risk of drying out. There are benefits to evidence found on tool marks, especially that trace evidence. It allows you to put the tool at the scene of a crime, and it may actually put someone, if there are fingerprints or blood, at the scene of a crime as well. This trace evidence and fingerprints could put a person at the scene of a crime, which in turn becomes incriminating evidence. 2 key points to take away from all of tool marks. So the presence of minute imperfections on tool marks imparts the individuality of that tool. The more a tool is used, the more imperfections it has. The shape and pattern of such imperfections are further modified by damage due to wear and tear during the life of the tool. The comparison microscope is used to compare the crime scene tool marks with test impressions made with a suspected tool. And here are 2 videos for you guys to watch. I believe one of these I have already posted to you guys because it's the one I had saved. But if you guys feel like watching these, it's in the PowerPoint for you guys. And then don't worry about that activity. We're not going to do it. So go ahead, just take your notes today. We'll do our tool mark lab next week. And then we move into ballistics. So thanks for listening. And as always, if you have any questions, just shoot me an email.